Alright, I think it's working. This is my first live stream test. We are live on the Lake Superior and Ishpeming Railroad here outside of Marquette, Michigan, at Eagle Mills Junction. And we just had the control operator give permission for the 7 Tilden to head towards the Tilden Mine Light Power. And they just got the 2 U30Cs out of the barn. The 3000 and 3009 after encountering problems with the Dash 7s a little bit ago. They just ran through with the Dash 7s and a set of loads, but the 3073 was not loading quite correctly, so at risk of stalling they exchanged for the U30Cs. Also in the vicinity here is the 7 waiter we should be getting in a little bit as well, so should be here in about 5 minutes. How busy is the LS&I? It's pretty busy depending on the day. They had 2 boats yesterday. They had the, I think it was the K. Barker and the Mississippi Cotton were both loading in Marquette yesterday. And the Oberstar is due later this afternoon. Takes about, on average, they run about 3 trains down the hill a day. So this section of track they're on right here can see up to a dozen or more trains a day easily. Especially if you count all the light power movements. So, little lay of the land here. You're looking kind of northwest. The track going off to the right is the LS&I main line heading towards Eagle Mills. Line continuing kind of straight and off to the left there is the joint line with the CN that heads out towards Ishpeming, Nagani, eventually Lons. Haven't heard the local that comes off that usually yet today, so we'll see if we get a glimpse of them maybe a little bit later. How's the sound? It's a little windy here. I don't know how it is on your guys' end. I just have my little iPhone here. What railroad did these U30Cs originate on? They were definitely BN. I can't remember if these two have been repainted or not. They look very similar to the original paint scheme, but a lot of the LS&I U30Cs and C30-7s were repainted in a very similar paint scheme. So these guys are about 40 years old. They're antiques, but you know, kudos to the people who maintain these things that they're still running. Is it worth a drive from the Sioux to Marquette and the Ordock in June? Sure. If you can see on like marine traffic that there are boats, it's a great show. Aren't very many places where you can get that close to the loading of an ore boat. The park goes right up to the approach of the docks, so it's a great show, and guys are usually pretty good about letting you hang around there. I just heard them blowing for M35, so we should be getting them here in just a little bit. Any stack trains through here? No. The Upper Peninsula does not see any intermodal traffic. Pretty much everything up here is related to either forestry or mining. Obviously, we're on the second largest iron ore railroad in the country. Otherwise, the CN does a lot of peddling in the forest products, finished lumber, a lot of pulpwood, wood chips, and various other traffic related to that. Chemicals, that sort of thing. Also running through here on the CN, on the L540 if we happen to see them later. They have some nickel and copper ores, and also the ammonium nitrate stuff to make the ANFO explosive used at the Tilden mine to move all their rock around. So a little bit of variety up here, not too bad. Radio frequency for the LS&I, they use primarily the channel 8. I can't remember what the frequency is. I don't ever really pay attention to the actual frequency. Also, the CN up here uses 15, and I think there's a couple others. I just have my scanner here, and I just have all of the channels for all the American Association of Railroads channels programmed in, so I don't really have to care what exactly the channel is. Should be getting action here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So I've got the signals behind me, and they'll pop on about a minute before they get here, and I'll shut up at that point. I've also got my main camera set up here to capture the action for an eventual special on the road as well. So. Yeah, Thomas, I am using your phone mount. It's pretty good, actually. I have to get one. Am I near Ishpeming? Kinda. This spot, Eagle Mills Junction, is situated between to the southeast of Negaunee. I think we're technically in Negaunee, which is east of Ishpeming, about 15 minutes east. Any word on the Empire Mine return? No, I've been looking through that too. I believe Cleveland Cliffs is supposed to announce their earnings later this week, so maybe we'll see some more of that. There's been a little bit of uncertainty in terms of demand recently, so we'll see if they feel confident enough to go ahead and reopen the Empire Mine, which would increase traffic pretty significantly up here. Yeah, way back they used to run the old Santa Fe RSD-15s up here, U25Cs, U23Cs, RSD-12s, a whole bunch of cool stuff. Now it's primarily just the AC-4400s from GE, and they have one pair of C30-7s and the pair of U30Cs that we're about to see. I get my main camera turned on here. They should be getting pretty close at this point. And I don't know if you guys can hear them, but I can hear them approaching here. They come through over to the right here. They come through quite a bit of a rock cut, so the sound is kind of played with as it goes through the rock cut there, and they kind of pop out. Thankfully, there's an approach signal before the junction here, and when they pass that approach signal, it lights these up. And when that occurs, I will be quiet and we'll enjoy the show. In terms of rail grinding on the LS&I, they don't run quite enough tonnage to get the full-size ram grinders or anything up here. They might also have problems with the pellets between the rails. They still use a kind of a truck-mounted grinder, I guess, is what I've been told. All right, here they come. Enjoy the show. All right, signal's lit. They got the approach through the junction. Yes, one of those times where you kind of wish you had smell through TV or internet, because it smells pretty great. if you like diesel smoke. Fortunately, can't really turn the camera fast enough, but yeah, they got pretty smoky after they went by me. So light power, the reason for this is that between Eagle Mills, which is the center of the railroad where all their shops are and everything, and the Tilden mine, they have a steep descent and then ascent up to this spot here. And so they're kind of power limited to about 60 cars coming between the mine and the mill when they're loaded, and Eagle Mills when they're loaded. So they run full 120 car empty trains from Eagle Mills over to Tilden, and then break them up and run the two parts back to Eagle Mills separately. So you always get, with every run of the mine, you always get one light power moved back. So that's what they're doing there, and they'll end up bringing back their second half of the train that they brought down this morning. So then they run the full 120 cars down the hill to Marquette, because it's all downhill at that point. As soon as you leave Eagle Mills, it drops down, and it's like a 1.6% grade, and keep the speed with dynamics and air. Yeah, so when they come back, it should be, I don't know, we'll see. Earlier this morning, they were loading some test pellets or something, so it took them quite a while. But right down, they're stopping at Empire Junction. The waiter, which is all rail ore loads for the CN, is coming up from the mine currently. So we should get their light power fairly soon. Also, the 7-yard hill went down to the mine about an hour ago with empties. So they should be coming up with loads also in the next hour or so. And then these guys, the 7 Tilden, should also be coming back up with loads. After that, I kind of expect the railroad to die down for a little bit. The LS&I runs 3 shifts, 7 o'clock in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and 11 at night. So they kind of tend to die down around 1, 2 in the afternoon, and then start up again at 3, and we'll see what they end up running. So anybody have any additional questions here, or should I continue, or pause and come back maybe a little bit when we get the waiter coming back, or what do you guys think? The weather up here isn't too bad. It's a little chilly and a little breezy. I think it's mid-30s, upper 30s, something like that. Not too bad up for up here. You know, we're kind of used to the -10 and 3 feet of snow. It's actually the first weekend I've been here, and there's not actually any snow in the direction that you guys are currently looking. Now, there's a giant pile behind me, but yeah, they're due for some snow downstate, but not up here. Moisture staying to the south. Where am I at? Yeah, so for the people who joined a little bit late, we're on the Lake Superior and Ishpeming here at a spot called Eagle Mills Junction, which is just west of the yard there at Eagle Mills. I'll take my spare battery off here, and I can show you around here for a second before I jump off here. So looking off to the straight, it goes over, that's the CN, heads over towards Ishpeming, Negaunee. Ultimately lines over to the right where we saw light power come moments ago. That was from Eagle Mills. And coming back around the other direction, we see that the junction itself kind of goes around the corner there. These two tracks come together. and operate kind of as a joint railroad between the CN and LS&I for about a mile down to Palmer Line Junction. Here's that giant pile of snow I was talking about. There's usually snow around here till mid-May. All the piles and stuff take a while to kind of melt off, you know. So yeah, that's Eagle Mills Junction for you. Not a bad spot to sit around. It's kind of nice and quiet here. It's off the main roads. And plenty of traffic, like I was saying earlier. On a busy day, 24 trains a day, maybe. LS&I, time you get the waiter running and the tilled and the yard hill jobs, and the CN tosses in their locals and all railroad train, it's entirely possible you get up around 20. So definitely the biggest, or the busiest rather, piece of road in the Upper Peninsula, this mile between Palmer Line and Empire Junction, or Eagle Mills Junction. Pretty busy for the UP, and actually one of the busier spots in the state, actually. Because Michigan, we are not blessed with trains like those of you in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Have I ever thought of doing following the branch from Standish through to Gaylord? That's the Lake State Railroad, downstate Michigan. I have never actually rail fanned that line. It's kind of out of the way in many respects for me, and I've never really nailed down the schedule out there. I definitely would say that I've, over the years, kind of neglected the most of the Lake State and the Huron and Eastern. I haven't done much on the east side of the state. But, you know, maybe someday. Does the LS&I bring longer trains here for the CN? So the CN used to run their own trains from about a mile down the road here to the Empire Mine, and they took almost all of the Empire Mine, their production, and the CN before them, down to Escanaba. And now, so the Empire Mine closed they made their last pellet in August of 16 and stopped shipping in October of 16. So the CN hasn't been running or Jenny trains of their own to Escanaba, and the dock down in Escanaba has been shut since, I think they took the last load out in April of 17, I believe it was. But the CN still gets all rail ore, which is the subject of my last two videos, with their U745 and the L550, L551. They're in hoppers, and that's what the LS&I waiter does. They're in hoppers because they can't go over the bridge in Sault Ste. Marie with iron ore jennies because it's too much weight. Because the iron ore jennies, you know, they're only 24 feet long, but they still weigh 80 or 100 tons or more. The newer ones can weigh even more than that. So they weigh too much for the bridge, so they use these old coal hoppers instead to kind of spread the weight out. And they bring those up. That'll be coming in later this evening. U745 comes in from CN. They drop the cars for the LS&I. And then in the morning, the waiter brings those cars down to the Tilden mine to get loaded, and then brings them over to Partridge, and CN will pick them up later tonight. So actually, unless the CN local shows up from Ishpeming, the waiter's probably the next train through here. Just light power, though, at this point, coming back from dropping the loads off. So, yeah, there's a little bit of ore that still goes to the CN, but not much. Just 45 loaded hopper cars a day for most of the year. They will run 70 later in the winter when the boats shut down. How many jennies the LS&I have? I've been told about 950. And they run in standard trains of 120 cars. I believe it takes somewhere around 300 to 400 to fill a boat. So, gives you a bit of an idea. Most of the boats take around 26,000 long tons, so 2,200 pounds of ore in a trip, depending on what time of year it is and what boat it is, of course. All right, were there any other questions that I missed earlier? I got to figure out how to make the questions stick around on the screen a little longer. Kind of flash by. The Great Lakes shipping season is kind of semi-officially March 25th through the following January 15th, because that's when the Soo locks are open at Sault Ste. Marie, through which the vast majority of the tonnage must pass. So the Army Corps of Engineers, which controls the Soo locks, shuts them down for maintenance every year on the 15th of January and reopens them on the 25th. So because of that, a lot of the traffic can't move, and there's ice and all that sort of stuff. So the vast majority of the traffic ends up shutting down mid-January, and it gives the ship owners a really unique opportunity to kind of maintain their fleet over that 2 months, because they're going constantly. It's just kind of like an airline. They're not making money if they're sitting around. So they kind of go as hard as they can all season, and then in the winter, all the crews go home, get some nice vacation, and then they can come back and the boats are all maintained. They can do their engine maintenance and all that sort of stuff without getting in the way of their schedule. Surprised I haven't heard anything else from the control operator. I was kind of expecting some other stuff to be moving, but so it goes. I can hear the waiter actually moving around about 1.5 miles to the south of here. The problem is down there, there's no good cell service, so I can't live stream from down there. Yeah, we're waiting on something, but we don't know exactly what or when yet. I'm thinking it might be a little closer to half hour or so before we get one back. So I might jump off here and take a little bit of a break and get the phone recharged. And so I guess I'll do that. So if you're interested in watching some more, just I guess watch your notifications. Might pop on, see a couple more trains. Hopefully in an hour or two we'll see the U30Cs come back under load. It's a pretty incredible show. Running up the grade here at Eagle Mills Junction. It's right on the limits of what they can do. And they'll sit there and they'll grind at 5 miles an hour and make all sorts of smoke and noise. And it's kind of fun to watch the antiques run sometimes. So I guess with that, that's a first live stream. I guess it didn't crash, and I guess I can't tell from your end, but hopefully it didn't look like a potato and didn't sound like somebody was breathing hard into the microphone or anything. So I'll take off from here from Eagle Mills Junction in Michigan's beautiful Upper Peninsula. That'll do it for now, and stay tuned for potentially some more later.